Welcome to the channel. So today's video is about another lead code problem in which we will solve this question called can place flowers. So what does the question basically says? They have provided us a vector called flower bed, and in that vector we can see this example here. They basically says that they have placed some flowers in some empty places. So basically one represent a flower and zero represent their absence. So they basically says that since there are some flowers already placed, so we have to place some flowers. Like they have given us n equals to 1, which means that the number of flowers they provide us is 1, and we basically have to place one flower inside this flower bed, right? So there is also a constraint in which they says that we we cannot plant the flowers in adjacent plots. For example, if they have planted a flower here, one represents a flower, so this should be an empty spot and the next flower should be placed here, and this should be another empty spot. Like if we plant a flower here, then the previous and the next spot should be empty, right? So this is basically the main constraint in which they says that the flower cannot be planted in adjacent rows, right? So let's see the constraints they have provided. So they basically says that the flower bed, like the length of the vector range from 1 to 2 into 10 raised to power 4, and the flower bed of 0 or 1, and the flower bed of I is basically 0 or 1, right? So there is the flower bed which they provided us basically has no two adjacent flowers in the flower bed. Like this flower bed is totally according to the constraints and limitations, but we basically have to see that the flowers they have given us, can we adjust it into this vector? If we can adjust these flowers into this flower bed, then we will return a true, but if we fail to do this, we have to return a false, right? And the last, they basically says that this is a very important point, that this is that the flower bed length can be from 0 to the total length like they have provided us. So okay, so this is that the n, the number of flowers given, right? So this is basically the n, the number of flowers given. They say that there can be no flower, and and the flower can range from till to the length of the flower bed. Okay, so these are basically the constraints, and let's just go to the solution and see how we can logically solve this. So what we have to do, let's take an example and see. Okay, so if we have this example, you can see that this they are returning true because you see that they have planted a flower and there are three empty spaces, so we can place a flower here. There is one flower, so it reduced to 0, and we basically because at this spot you can see that the previous location and the next location are empty, so there is no adjacent flower placed, and since we can we can place a flower here and we can return true. Okay, so but in the next example, as you guys see that there are two flowers which we have to place in the flower bed. There is already one flower, and if we skip this slot, because you know that we cannot place adjacent flower, so we will go to here and we will place one flower. Okay, I have placed one flower, and it will become a decrement and it will become 1. But when we go further, so obviously we cannot place a flower here and till we reach the end of the flower bed. So we are left with one flower, and we are unable to place it here. So what we will return? We will return a false. So I hope that the problem statement is quite clear now, and let's see an example and just analyze that how we can easily solve this by a code. So let's just take this example, because this is okay, rather than taking this example, let's take this example, because this is clearly returning a false. Let's take this example with return a true, right? Okay, so what we will do is, first of all we will check that are there any flower to be placed or not, because they clearly see they clearly say that the flowers can be 0, right? So we first of all check that this is basically the edge case, and we check that either there exists a flower or not, and if there is no flower, we simply return a true, right? Because this is that there is no adjacent flowers in the flower bed, like the vector they have provided us is simply according to the laws and constraints. So since there are no flowers, so we will return true. Okay, if this is not the case, then we will return we will place a for loop, and we will into the next, into the first iteration. What we will do is we will check that if the location at which we are standing is 0. Suppose that we are standing at this location right here, right? We are standing here, so we will check that if that location is 0, obviously the location must be 0 to place a flower. And means that all the situations, all the conditions in the end must be true to be inside the for loop. Okay, and the or means that if either is true, then we can go inside the if. Okay, so this says that the location at which we are standing right now must be 0, right? So this is true, we are standing at 0. And this is that if I equals to 0, if I equals to 0, or flower bed minus 1 equals to 0. Okay, so this condition right here, we see that there is an or condition. So we are currently at this point where we see that the previous location must be 0. You see that the previous location is 0. Okay, and there is another there is another condition that this is not our case right now. So there is a or this should never be cause any problem. So we will see that they are saying that the next index onto which we are pointing, so you can see that the next index is this, and this is also 0. Okay, so we will see that there is a 4 in this, there is a there is a and in this, there is a and there, and we have true we have we have see that this is basically true, this is basically true, and this is basically true. So all the three things are true, conditions are true. So we can basically go into the 4, and we will place a flower there. So we will place a flower, right? And the n becomes minus minus, so it becomes 0. And if the n becomes 0, we have to return true. Now we will see. Okay, so this is absolutely okay, we have seen that we totally understand this. But now we will see that what are these other conditions. Like I have placed a condition which says that if I equals to flower bed dot size minus 1, what is this condition when this condition is true? Okay, so this is a very simple case. When you see that this is the situation, right? So you are at this position, the previous one is 0, and the location you are standing on is 0. But the third condition, which is I have placed it, there is no next, there is no next index. So you will simply says that I equals to flower bed dot size minus 1, like which is again this location, right? So this is basically another edge case, right? So let's take another example, which is this example. In this example, you can see that we can place a flower. If they say that we have to place two flowers here, so we can place a flower here, and we can simply place a flower here, right? There are 5 zeros, and you can place a flower at the adjacent locations, and in this case you can also return true, right? This is a very important case and edge case. So I hope that you get the concept, and the link to this code is in the description, the link to my GitHub repo. Thank you so much for watching the video.